So it looks like most movie theaters are going to open back up by July. And AMC and a lot of these other outlets are looking at Tenet like they are the savior of the industry. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I saw this article, and this is what got me interested in this. Plus, the restrictions in theaters reopening. I'm going to go over this article. Wait till you see what California requires movie theaters to do to open up. It's ridiculous. In fact, I don't see how movie theaters are going to survive, especially when you've got reports like this. AMC Theaters reports a $2.2 billion loss due to worldwide closures, and they're already in a lot of trouble. I've done a couple videos talking about the money they've lost. But Tenet, it's being looked at as the savior for a lot of reasons. Are people going to come back? This is a Christopher Nolan movie. Christopher Nolan's a big name. He's very popular. People like his films. This is also the first big blockbuster of the summer. And it will mark things opening back up for most theaters. How is this movie going to perform? It doesn't have a digital release as of right now. The only way you're going to be able to see this movie as of right now, unless it changes, and it could change tomorrow, is in theaters. It does not have a digital release. Now, I think that's going to change because I think they're going to have no choice to make their money back. They probably spent a lot of money on this. It's a Nolan movie. I'm sure they spent some cash. But I don't think they're going to have a choice. If they want to make money, they're going to have to release it early on digital. I don't think this film is going to really help movie theaters. I don't know where movie theaters are going to be in a year. But I can tell you this, the restrictions that are going to get put on them from states, particularly like California, is kind of scary for the business. But you have this here, the push for Tenet. According to Cinema Blend, Warner Brothers and movie theaters have a lot of stake in Tenet. The film was considered one of the banner films for their production company, and theaters have seen a loss in revenue since the pandemic began, since they had to close down their screens. It's testing the waters for Tenet. Movie theaters have hoped to test the waters with different promotions before Tenet is released. According to Film School Rejects, theater owners want to figure out a game plan so they can be prepared for Tenet when it hits theaters. And they didn't really get to do that, did they? I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know this. The way that things have been set up for movie theaters right now, this is a disaster. This is going to cost theaters extra money just to run. And I want to point out here, they're being told they can only run at 25% capacity in California. They have to do all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of guidelines for them. There's no way that they can have profitability and be able to do all this stuff. This is ridiculous, the restrictions that they're putting on them. So I want to go over this. As theaters in California near reopening after weeks of lockdown, we finally have a clear idea of what a post-pandemic theater experience might look like in more densely populated cities. And it's not going to look or feel like the movies did before, not for a while at least. And I've been saying that. A lot of people aren't even going to go. A lot of people aren't going to go. There's been a couple of polls that have been out there. I saw one that said most people are going to wait like till next year before they even go to a theater again. You think that they can survive that after they've already been losing $2.2 billion, at least according to AMC, and they're the biggest. That's the biggest one. So how do you think the other ones are doing? You think they're doing better? Probably not. Movie theaters in some California counties may be able to start reopening for business as early as Friday, provided they meet specific guidelines for family entertainment centers. Even then, they can only reopen with approval by a county health officer and after taking into consideration factors such as the number of positive cases related to the population, testing, and contact tracing. And when some reopen, the experience is going to feel far different than those packed pre-pandemic opening nights. And this is the big thing, these guidelines. These guidelines that they have, we're going to get into them right now, and they're crazy. Talking about wearing masks the whole time unless you're eating. How do you even enforce that, by the way? So movie theaters must reduce capacity to just 25% or a maximum of 100 theater goers, depending on which is lower, according to the guidelines. Masks must be used by customers as well as theater staff, and moviegoers will be asked to maintain social distancing between themselves and those of other households to the greatest extent possible. The big thing here is 25%. 25% capacity. So the biggest night for movies, like Tenet, for example, will be the first 2 weeks. The first week is going to be the big one. And, you can only show the movie so many times. You only have so many screens. I mean, I would imagine to recoup this, what they'll do, especially, when Tenet first comes out, that's going to be it. There'll be no other theater. There'll be, like, no other movies in the theater, maybe one or two. Movies are going to get a lot less time in the theaters, number one. And all of the screens are going to show probably Tenet, and that's it. And they're not going to have a choice because no one's going to be able to see the film. And like I said, there's only so many times they can show the movie because there's so many hours in an operating day. Like, you can only show the movie 6 times maybe on one screen. 25% capacity. That's not a lot of people. That's a lot of revenue lost. That's a lot of revenue lost for the studio, the theater. Like, how can you even make money on that? And I suppose they'll be grateful that they can even open the doors at all. But they just can't. Nobody's making money at 25%, let alone concessions. That's where theaters make the most money. You got to wear a mask unless you're eating. And then you have to put the mask back on after you're going to smell your popcorn breath the whole time. Most people probably won't even put them back on. But anyway. Cinemas are being asked to consider reservation systems to limit the number of attendees entering a theater at once, as well as specific enter and exit routes to reduce the need for people to walk past each other. Face coverings would likely be required during any time that a person isn't eating or drinking, which might prove tricky to enforce once folks are in their seats. But at the very least, while they're at least at the concessions or counter or entering or leaving the building. Yeah, this is the big one. So unless you're eating or drinking, how do you enforce that? That's a big question, but it's something that people are going to think about. People that are really scared about this stuff and worried about it, they're going to be thinking about that. Maybe they're going to keep their mask on or whatever. This is going to be less food for concessions, less money bringing in, and that's where the theaters make the most money. They make all of their money there. That's why the prices are so jacked up, because that's where all their profit comes in. Additionally, in order to enforce social distancing in theaters, the guidelines advise reconfiguring or removing seats, perhaps even by requiring seating every other row or blocking off or removing seats in a checkerboard style. Use each row, but make sure no one is directly behind other patrons so that distances are maintained in all directions. People who live in the same household would be able to sit together, but might need to be separated from those from other households. So the big thing here that I was looking at was like, where are they supposed to keep these seats? You're talking about removing seats. You're going to have, like, you can't just have someone do that. You're going to have to pay people to come in there, remove all these seats, and put them where? In storage. It's more bills for people that are already drowning in debt and low on money. So this is just, you're talking about renovating the theater to open it. That's a lot of money. And I know it doesn't sound like much. So we're just paying somebody to come in here and take it, or you're going to do it. That costs time and money. Okay. And then where are you going to leave? You're going to leave a bunch of seats out all over the place and make the theater look cluttered and like it's got garbage all over the place. Well, I just don't know what they're going to do. This was the big thing to me that I was blown away. You're going to ask people to remove and renovate seats in the theater. There's more. They're also being asked to consider disposable or washable seat covers to be replaced between each use, limiting the number of people that can use a restroom at once to prevent crowding, which, as anyone who's ever visited a woman's bathroom, whatever, that doesn't really matter too much here, and dedicating specific staff for those like directing foot traffic or holding open doors to enforce social distancing. Now, another big cost thing to me in this is the washable seat covers or disposable seat covers. Now, you would have to replace every one of them because how do you know if it was used or not? Somebody might have sat in. You wouldn't be able to justify. You'd have to get rid of every one of them every time. So every time you're going to have to do all this work now with seat covers too. Now, they're being asked to consider that, but from what I gathered by looking at the guidelines, it could be pushed by the county. They're going by a county thing with this. So it could be required by that county. That's going to cost a lot of money to do that. It's just more costs on an industry that's already low on cash. And this is nuts. Like I said, who wants to go through all this, number one? Who wants to go sit in a place? Oh, you're going to have to put your mask on between biting popcorn. You're going to have to ask theaters to reduce their money. This is what I gathered out of all of this. Okay? You already got theaters low on money. You're going to open them up. Running 25%. Is that even enough to make money to pay all of your staff and all of that? Are people going to buy concessions? Then you have to renovate your theater. You're going to have to put these disposable or washable seat covers on. It's probably going to be a death blow to the industry. I don't see how they can survive this. Maybe if they can limp through a year and we get through everything and, it turns out to be a nothing burger and everything turns out to be okay, maybe they can bounce back. But I think you're likely going to see the majority of theaters that are left closed, which is crazy to think about. And I've seen some people in my comments on videos like these say that they already they have to drive already like an hour to go see a movie if they want to. So Tenet will be something to watch. How are those numbers going to hold without a digital release? Are theaters going to make money? Are they even going to be allowed to open? I think this is going to be a big test. We'll see what happens. I'm interested in seeing this. I'm interested in seeing how these California theaters make money. I think you're going to see a lot of this replicated in other states. We'll see. If you live in a state that has theaters open, what is it like there? Have you gone to the movies? Let me know what your experience is like. I don't even know what is playing in movie theaters right now. Because I know in some states, theaters are open. So I'm really interested. What's it like if you've been to a theater? Are you going to go see Tenet? Will you just wait for a digital release? Are you going to go to a movie theater after everything that's happened? Are you scared to? I'd like to hear what you guys think. Do you think Tenet can save the industry? Let me know. Also, if you would, share the video, throw a like up, make sure you still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.